everyone, welcome to Cheap Gunpla Build. This series aims to show how to build Gunpla professionally without very professional tools. Personally, I prefer to have a clean, nicely painted Gunpla. I'm not a fan of too much weathering. My aim is simple and low cost. So first, let me introduce the tools I used. This airbrush costs about 40 Canadian dollar from Amazon, and it can do the job well without any issue. The compressor I use is a USB one. It's very simple and easy to use. So what you need to do is just charge it and use it. The bad side of it is that it can only last for 30 minutes, and then you need to charge again. Before we start airbrushing, we will take the gunpla apart and wash it with water. We can add some dish detergent to wash the oily substance away so that paint can stay on easily. After that, we can use useless plastics or with chopsticks to stick to parts on it with blue tacks. Blue tack is very good. It can stick things with different shape, and also it can be reused many times. And you need to use enough blue tack to make sure it doesn't fall. For those parts, they are supposed to be close to each other. Stick them together so that you can spray it together evenly. This way, it will prevent an uneven color when you're putting them together. For primer paint, I will pick Mr. Surfacer 1000, and I think it is just good enough. And we are not trying to make the panel line goes away, so it is okay. The main purpose of using Surfacer is to make the acrylic paint sticks better. We need to use the same base thinner to dilute the paint. Mr. Color Thinner has the same base as this Surfacer. Don't use the wrong thinner with different base. Because this surfacer is specifically for Gunpla, the pigment is very fine and it can be airbrushed very easily. It is a perfect match with airbrush. The ratio is about 1 to 3, 1 part of paint and 3 part of thinner. Of course, it can be different in each case, so you need to test yourself. Once it is ready, we can try to spray on a stick to see if the paint is okay. In this case, the paint can't be sprayed. It can be two reasons. One is there's a blockage. Two, the paint is too thick. So we can use the plastic cover to block the air coming out, and it will be redirected to the paint chamber. We can see bubbles, so there is no blockage here. So the blockage is not the reason for this time. Maybe the paint is too thick. Sometimes the paint may be jammed, so we can try to take it out and put it back again. Put it back quickly so the paint will spill out to make sure there's no blockage. Make sure don't spill the paint to anywhere else. In our case, we can see the paint can now be sprayed, but not continuously. This means that the paint may be too thick so that it cannot be sprayed properly. so we need to dilute more with the thinner. Since I'm pouring back the remaining paint directly back to the original paint container, the dilute ratio may be different in each time. It is not a good practice, but it saves a bit of paint. If possible, you should dilute it properly with adding thinner to the original paint, so each time the ratio can be the same. Now you can see the paint can be brushed with a good flow. We can try to spray to some parts that are not so important to try that out. As you can see, the spray speed is not very fast because I'm just using a USB compressor. The PSI is very limited. But it can still finish the job slowly, and the paint is evenly sprayed onto the parts. Since the PSI is not very much, I prefer to spray it in circular motion. I prefer circular motion than line motion with this type of compressor. Make sure you don't overspray in one spot. Let it dry a bit before the next coat if necessary. Since I'm not working for seamless lines, I just spray one layer only. The main purpose of this surfacer step is that it helps the main paint to stick on the parts better. You can also take some time to check if all the sprays are nice and even. Now it comes to the main part. For the main paint, I will try to use some cheap acrylic paint instead of model paints. I bought this from Walmart with $1 Canadian, which is less than $1 US. The volume is 59 ml, about 6 times of a model paint, which is a 10 ml each. This paint is acrylic, so we cannot use the same thinner as the surfacer. Also, Tamiya X20A thinner may not be a good option, but we can do it ourselves. By mixing these three solutions together, we will have a good paint thinner for acrylic paint. If you're interested, leave comments and I can give you more details about it. To prepare the paint, shake it well first. Add 1 part of paint to the airbrush and then add some thinner. The ratio is about 1 to 1.5. Now we can use a stick or gunpla waste as a stir. Mix it well. When you feel that it flows like milk, we can try to test airbrushing it. Now, let's take a look on the painted part. Since the paint is matte finish, it will not give a glossy look. Make sure all parts are sprayed evenly. We can take a little comparison. The shield is painted with wet acrylic paint with white surfacer. The body is painted with red acrylic paint with gray surfacer. The color of the shield looks brighter and the color of the body looks firm and dark. So now you can pick the surfacer color based on what you need. So place them nicely and take a good photo. For the frame, I prefer to have gunmetal gray rather than just silver. I think silver is more from imagination and gunmetal gray is more realistic. Again, I bought this paint from Walmart for $3.75 Canadian dollar. A metallic color with matte finish. It is the same 59 ml, so which is 6 times of the model paint. To dilute this paint, use the same method as the wet paint before. If the parts cannot be stick to the stick, try to use a clip to hold them so that you can spray it. Now let's take a look at the metallic gray parts. We can see that there are metallic pigment in the body. If you use other metallic paints together with it, it will be very nice. So after the spray, please be careful when touching the parts. The paint may fall off easily because it's not protected well. Let's take another photo for the metallic frame parts. I like to add metallic details to Gunpla, and I think it makes the model more unique. Mr. Metal Color is a very good series of paint. It can make parts look like real metal. Applying it is very simple. I will paint it directly from the container. Of course, I'll add some Mr. Color thinners if it's too thick. To hand paint this paint, don't try to use the dry brush method. This method will make the tools look matte and dull, which is not the natural for metal. It should be glossy and shiny. If you paint other parts accidentally, don't worry, we can treat it later. You can use Q-tip to dip some thinners and clean the extra parts. But remember, don't dip too much because you don't want the thinner to touch the parts with the paint. See? Gunmetal gray with metallic color really look nice. Before we do panel lines, we need to spray a glossy protection coat first. I picked Mr. Color's Super Clear Glossy Paint. If you try to do panel lines on matte surface, it may be hard to remove the panel line completely as the surface is not smooth. It will look dirty unless you want some weathering look. We will use enamel paint for the panel line. The enamel base paint is a perfect paint for this job because it will not mix with other paint easily. The property of the enamel paint make it perfect for the panel lines. We need to use X20 thinner for enamel paint. Others won't work. Besides using enamel paint, we can also choose a panel line accent color. This is a very special product line from Tamaya for panel lining. Basically, it is just a diluted enamel paint with the paint tip in the cap. Just open the container and you can use it right away. I found that the gray color is too light and hard to see. Use a darker color or black would be a better choice. Of course, you still need the thinner to wash it away. Doing panel line is very easy. Just dilute the paint with more thinner to make it very thin. Dip the fine brush head with paint. Touch the side of the line and let the paint flow freely onto the line. Sometimes you need to dip in the middle of the line so that the paint can flow further. Or even you can make the line deeper so that the paint flows better. And sometimes it may take a bit of time to flow down the line. For larger area, you can hand paint it directly. To wash the extra paint, use a Q-tip to tip some thinner. Don't dip too much as it will be hard to control. Also, it may crack the parts. On the parts that you want to clean, gently clear the paint and it will go away. Carefully clean the parts which planes are not needed. The surface we use should be glossy, not matte. Otherwise, washing it will be like a mess. It will make it look dirty, unless you want weathering fluid. Otherwise, don't use matte surface. As we said before, acrylic paint is quite weak on sticking on the parts. We can apply a coat of Mr. Color Super Clear so that it can protect the paint because it's harder. Harder means it can resist scratch, so it can protect the paint underneath it. To dilute this paint, the ratio is about 1 to 3. Now we are done. In this finishing product, you can see that it doesn't look like plastic anymore. The texture and the metallic feel will make it more real. The metallic details also added it to make it very unique. Remember, all the tools that we used are very cheap. The total is about $70 to $80 Canadian dollar. By using cheaper acrylic paint, it can be even cheaper. Because we are using a USB compressor, the painting time will take longer because the compressor can get hot easily and it needs to be charged frequently. But Gunpla building is about enjoying the process, so you should enjoy every moment in this process and fall in love with Gundam. So this is the end of this Gunpla demonstration. I hope you enjoy it and please subscribe my channel. I will try to share more Gunpla in the future. Bye bye.